Writing and no comments here. Give me a sec. I appreciate your patience. Let's see here. There we go. That should get rid of anyone that's not actually wanting to be here. Okay. There we go. Okay. I think we're good now. I think you can... I could probably, like, blur the background if I wanted to. Maybe. Big head. Oh my gosh, all the different stuff you can do on here, and people still don't believe about, like, AI and stuff. Can you see? Is that better? I don't know. There's a lot of light. It should be okay. All right. So, I want to talk about this dream that I had a long time ago, and I also want to do some reading because I have cabin fever. Sam has cabin fever. Most people, I'm sure at this point, if you're in the... you know what's funny? I was thinking about, is that eclipse the second eclipse? The most recent one in April of 2020. I have the shirt. I don't even remember. The most recent eclipse. That same band, that same line is where the winter storms hit. And it's also where we had... Oh no, my system decided to update as I had stuff pulled up. I apologize for, you know. I always kind of ramble though when we first start chatting, so it should be okay, I hope. I have 2 desktops up. There's a method to my madness there. Give me a second so I can get everything the way I wanted it, if it will follow me here. Hold on. There we go. Ooh, where are you? I have to pull up another tab, pull up the reading. So I noticed, yeah, that second eclipse where the flooding was for Helene and where the tornado band was during the spring, and then now for the winter storms, it's all been the same. It's all been going up that same band of the country. So that's a little... You know, and if you know about HARP and cloud seeding and straight up weather manipulation, then you know, should understand what I'm getting at. And if you were following the money, you didn't even have to follow the money. If you had a little bit of sense, you would have looked to see what dams they let out right before Helene and right before Camp Mystic, and then go back and see what levees and lakes and dams they purposely let out right before Katrina. Some of you might be surprised if you see that. City planners have control of those things. And I remember I was watching a channel right before Helene, and it was so beautiful. They were on the very top of the mountain expressing how their township and their governor had taken such good care of them, and before the storms was wise and had let out their dams and the water. Yeah, but you're on the top of the mountain, and you're making these beautiful travel logs while your neighbors south of you a little bit are struggling for their livelihoods, their lives, and land they've had for millennia because you guys flooded them. So, yeah. I always ramble at first to get rid of the trolls because they come and I just don't, you know. You deal with children as you deal with children. And on this channel, everybody is welcome. The only thing I don't really welcome is hatred. I don't believe in censorship of, like, the public. I need a pillow, I'm sorry. But I do block, and I have my sweatshirt here keeping me warm and cozy. I should have just got a blanket, but... Okay, so I don't believe in censorship. But I have noticed people are trying to manipulate me into like unblocking people and unblocking accounts, because it will block any future accounts that you make from like that IP address. And so I just need to express that I'm aware of that manipulation happening. No, I'm not going to unblock people. I time them out in the chat. The only thing that's not welcome here is hatred. I don't believe in censorship, but if you are just name calling, just like everyday life, I can turn around and walk away from you and go in my house and ignore you. We don't have to have a dialogue. So no, I don't believe that blocking people is censorship, not in that way. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you about this dream I had a while back. I could use some help with it. There's a reason I'm asking for help with this dream. I have a lot of dreams. I have some videos I've made on them. It's been a topic of interest of mine since I was small. I actually did my 9th grade science project on dreams. It was a theoretical science project, which we were allowed to do because I'm not very mechanically inclined. I'll admit that. I'm good with words. That's why I share that with you. I go to other people to learn about mechanical things and other skills that I lack and don't have. Anyway, I did this project about dreams, about shared dreams, and if people that knew each other, could share a reality bubble, if you will, during their dream time. And then along came these movies like Inception, this, that, and the other. And I believe that's probably that might have been one of the things that got me a little more monitored than I was before then. Hi, is that Nathan? I just got on here and you were saying something about children. Myself, I'm mechanically inclined, but now since I'm in school, I'm having a difficult time with computer stuff. Yeah, that can be hard. I feel like a lot of my audience members, a lot of the trolls they send my way are AI. The fundamentals of computers never change. Like when I was in cell phone technology, that stuff doesn't change. The main foundation, it does not alter really. And always remember, there's more than one way to do something. You can go in a backdoor to any program, any computer, any device. There's always more than one way. That's kind of why I like computers, is because you can't really mess things up permanently. You can always backtrack and try another way, usually. So I'm going to tell you about this dream, I think, first, because that might be, this time I'm actually going to go in order. And then I'm going to pull up a couple things. The Infancy Gospel of Thomas, we're looking into the missing years of Christ, and I have been exposed to Gnostic Gospels. Not everybody has, not everybody wants to be. I am not afraid of words, I'm not afraid of books. But again, I try to bring balance to the platform, and I feel like the people who have went over these books, I don't know, are they Gospels? I don't know. Gospel was just another word for book back then. But are they true? I don't know. And so I want to take a look at them and see if any of it fits, if any of it can be slid into a certain place. But also because they're making our Lord look very bad when they speak on him. And so I would like to address the tone that's used when a lot of people read these Gnostic Gospels. I feel like the tone of voice is a lot more nefarious than it needs to be, because we are dealing with a child in most of these stories. So we're going to talk about that. But first, let me tell you about this dream I had, and there's a reason I'm asking about it. I do somewhat, and I just told you about my history with dreams, I do somewhat believe that dreams are prophetic. Not all of them, but they can be. I believe you can practice lucid dreaming because I've done it my whole life. Nobody taught me. It's something I had to get good at, because I had like night terrors and nightmares, and I had to get really good at knowing I was dreaming in the back of my mind, right? So I wouldn't freak out or get too scared or what have you. And so I developed these coping mechanisms inside dreams and these tricks that I use to remind myself, hey, you're dreaming, wake up, wake up, And I have these tricks that if I can't if I can't take charge like of my mind space at that point, then I have tricks that I use to wake myself up. Now, we looked a little bit into, now this does have to do with dreams. There's a reason I'm going this way. The Mormon book of Mormon. There's The lost, and I really like this part of it. I love the Pearl of Great Price, what I've read of it. It's just, even if it's not true, again, in stories, there's always a moral lesson you can take away. However, in the Book of Mormon, and again, I'm not telling you to accept, receive, believe it as truth. I am not afraid of books and words. I know that words can't hurt me unless I allow them to have that power over me. I know that they can't change my, framework for life unless they are true and I accept and receive, or unless I deceive myself and accept and receive them as truth. In the Book of Mormon, it talks a little bit about what I believe is, I mean, they don't come right. It's almost like if you've ever seen the movie Nines with Ryan Reynolds, everybody allegedly gets their planet and everybody is a god, right? Or everybody gets their own section of the realm or their own realm, like Christ is the Lord of this one, right? So the Book of Mormon hints at parallel universes in some way, shape, or form. I'm not sure what to think of dreams. I know that some of mine have happened. I know that means they're like predictions or prophetic or whatever. That's okay with me. It doesn't scare me because not all of them are like that. But if I look back, most of them have been. I just didn't understand them. And so now I'm going to seek out other opinions and say, hey, do you have any idea what this might mean? Maybe you can help me figure this out. Because usually, in some way, shape, or form, if I look back in, 2020, hindsight is 2020, I see that if I would have paid attention to some aspect in this dream, it would have helped me. So I have this dream, right? And what's really weird about it, and this is the reason I'm talking about it. If you're a fan of like liminal space stories and like, I'm trying to keep my computer active, I'm sorry, in creepypasta, and I hate looking at myself. I'm not that girl who likes to look at myself. So if I'm looking away or out my window, that's why. I don't want to sit here and look at myself. Anyways, liminal spaces are like human spaces. I always use the example of a park where you're used to seeing life and children and excitement and glee. Liminal space is like abandonment of a place where humans no longer dwell, or like the dead malls. Now you see, that's a liminal space example. Some of these liminal space stories that I've seen recently are my dreams. And I'm not sure how that's happening. And again, you already know that, like, I suspect my phone and technology is more than what we've been told. So I'm gonna leave that lie with you guys, because there was also one of the internet, one of the first YouTube stories or internet urban legends that was shared on YouTube was about the guy with the unibrow, and everybody was dreaming about this same guy. Have you dreamt about him? And it was allegedly fake, right? A lot of stories that are supposedly fake, they talk about on Reddit, and people are like, no, this happened to me. And I'm not saying we have to, again, people lie. They do this for clout for a lot of different reasons. But sooner or later, you have to look at things and you have to pick that commonality apart. So these liminal stories that they're showing, and I've shared some of them, and they're really creative, and I really like this new generation of creators that are delving into that aspect of creativity. But when I watch them, I've dreamt of that. They're places I've dreamt of. These liminal spaces, right? These weird, like, you're in a dream and things are kind of wonky and backwards. And you know where you're at, but it's different than real life because you're like, oh, this is a dream. Everything's upside down, kind of, different, weird, whatever. Kind of feels like we've been in a dream the last 10 years, but moving on. So in this dream, it's like liminal space, right? And at first, I'm entering the water park that my husband and me and my kids used to go to, which is normal. Your subconscious works like these things out. But here's where it gets weird. We're entering the water park in the front, right? But then it turns and I'm not with them. Like in my dreams, I'm always searching or seeking people, like a group of people, my loved ones, friends, don't know who they are. Even in my dreams of the flooding, I was like a different person. I wasn't seeking out like my real family, but I was seeking out, I knew in the dream that I was seeking out a different group of people. I know that sounds weird, But if you play with your dreams enough, and if you train yourself enough, and if you have bad dreams enough, you have to really become good at them and controlling them. But this one gets me because it feels like one of those ones that's more than a dream. So anyway, I'm entering the water park, but it's not a water park yet. It's like, gift shops, this, that, and the other. And then it kind of turns into where there is water there, but it's not in the park. It's like where you eat and stuff, okay? So it's like everything's a lazy river. And then I go a little further, and mind you, I'm still having like dream stuff happen, like weird stuff. But this is the place. What I want to tell you is like what's most important is like the progression and where I end up. So then going from that familiar type of stuff, it turns into a museum of natural history. Like, I don't know why. But again, it's flooding. There's always water in my dreams. I'm not sure why. Not always, but in a lot of them. So now, excuse me. And mind you, I know in this dream, I'm like, okay, this is a different place, but this is the same world as, I've dreamt of before with the flooding and the water. I don't know how I know that. I just know that. In dreams, you have givens. You just know things. So it starts to turn into like this museum of natural history. And everybody is like trying to, and what we're looking at is, it's not just natural history, it's like the cultural history. Like I see like people like us, but in the 60s, like section displays of like protests, and then a woman in a dress, just regular everyday people like it's the 80s and 90s. And then so we're all looking for this thing, and I don't know what we're looking for. It almost turns into like this really big, we go to the amphitheater, it's not in the whatever we're looking for. Then in the end, I find out what we're looking for. In the end, still in this ginormous building that kind of resembles a museum of natural history now. Inside, but outside, I don't know. We come to like this walkway where everyone starts like merging. And everybody's getting on a spaceship. Not a spaceship, like a rocket, like a NASA rocket. Like that's what it looks like on the outside. And it's already like, and I know this isn't true in planes and stuff. Like in planes, it's already on the ground. Like you have to, right, when you get on. But we're boarding this inside the Natural History Museum, and it's already on an angle. And everyone's like, come on, the trip is over. Like I'm just a visitor. And they're like, we've seen this culture, these people, this civilization. We have to go now. But then I turn into regular me, and it's kind of like Armageddon. I know that we have to get in the shuttle and leave, but I can't find my children. And then I wake up. I don't know why that dream bothers me so much, but we've talked about dreams here. We've traded experiences, a lot of us. Again, my comment section is really lacking the last few years. I'm not quite sure what's going on, and I don't like being manipulated. I don't like being hidden. And if I keep thinking like this is fake and nobody is seeing me at all, and if my family faked my death, whatever happened, like I'm not just going to sit here for it. I'm feeling really itchy, like I need to just go live my life and leave. You can only serve a group of people for so long, and when they don't appreciate it and they're ungrateful for it, you know. And yes, I'm still a Christ follower, but I believe that there are other people out there and other animals out there I could be helping, and not people who don't appreciate it. Okay, so if anyone has any ideas on what that dream could mean, let me know, because it's strange. It's one that I've had before, and I know, like, as I'm having the dream, it's the same place as a couple of these other places. And it feels so real, and I've had experiences that aren't dreams, like, they actually are real, and I've explained my thoughts on UFO abductions and what I think those really are. Right, right. Well, this dream that I'm telling you about, it's actually a couple years old. And that's the thing, like, it keeps, like, coming to my mind, you know what I mean? So I figured if I asked you guys, maybe you guys could help me, right? Okay. Myself, I feel we are in some type of dream state or movie that we are experiencing and feeling. In part, it feels like that, but let me be realistic here for a second. if this was a simulation, I would not pick it to be this boring. Like, there's a lot going on the screens, but in real life, like, I'm bored as all get out. There ain't nothing going on. If this were a simulation, somebody else put me here because it's a crap simulation, right? Like, and they also stand, he says, I think the water is a type of cleansing. In one aspect, yes, but I did dream of the Helene floods before they happened. And Helene is the name that God gave me once I was called back to him. So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt, do with it as you will. But I've been talking about all these things because God told me to. God's warned me about all these things that are coming, so that dream's been on my heart and mind, and I had to tell you guys about it. I'm not sure if it means escape, evacuation. I don't know what it means, but I had it a few years ago, and I know, like, I always dream of I'm on a float. This is a really weird one. I'm on a float, and again, it's water. I'm in a river, trying to keep up with a group of people or meet back up with a group of people that are actually my people, and running from this, because in my dreams my spouse is always like even worse than he is in real life. So I'm like running from him. He's the monster in my dreams, and then I'm running to like this group of, I guess, like-minded people. But one of the places in the dream is oh yeah, and there were personal things in the other dream that I didn't mention that actually ended up being true, so that's another reason, like, that dream bothers me so much. But this other one, I'm floating in a river on, like, a raft. Now, mind you, it's not like a swimming raft, it's like an emergency raft, like an orange raft. And I know I'm on a river because I've floated on rivers before, but, you know, I'm floating under the bridges and under the bypasses, and my dreams are a lot of bypasses, and I'm not sure why, like, what that has to do with anything, and a lot of, like, being under bridges, like a homeless person, which is weird. And again, these started way before any of these topics came. Like, these are old dreams that are kind of repetitive. That's why I'm asking y'all about them. Don't be like me. Don't drink Coke, but I have magnificent heartburn lately. And I've given up so much the last several years that I'm still working on sugar, so please forgive me for setting a bad example that way. Okay, so what we're going to do now is look at the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. Now, I do take suggestions if there's any topics that people want to go over, or any readings, or, you know, you want my, I don't think my opinion matters that much, but if anyone wants my opinion on something, or a specific topic, I'm more than happy to give it. So just so y'all know that. We're gonna pick at this, and here's why. Because when other channels get into the Gnostic Gospels, they always read it from a stance of like, our Lord is wicked and evil, and I don't want to read it from that perspective. I think we need some balance there. Now, there are a few different translations, right? And Syriac is starting to be one that I almost trust more than the others, because those are pretty old, the Syriac manuscripts of everything. And they have a lot on Mary's life and her mother as well. Like, they have a lot more. So I'm going to read you basically what the intro is. And then, now, the Gospel of Thomas is not the only gospel that goes over Christ's youth. We also have several more. And I have it put up on my phone, but just to be thorough, list all of the ancient texts. We'll do that. Texts that go over ancient texts of Jesus' youth. We'll do that. Because there's a few more, not just the Gospel of Thomas, but that's the one that everybody... Why can't you just list them for me? See, sometimes it'll... Okay, the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of James, the Gospel of Pseudo-Matthew, which is weird because pseudo means false or fake or Maybe there's another Matthew, I'm not sure. Syriac Infancy, which I want to go over that one too. Syriac Infancy Gospel, History of Joseph the Carpenter, The Life of John. Okay. They include the Gospel of James, which introduces the concept of the perpetual virginity of Mary, the infancy of gospel, not to be confused with the unrelated Gospel of Thomas. So they're different, both of which cover many miraculous incidents from the life of Mary and the childhood of Jesus that are not included. So both the Gospel of Thomas and the infancy Gospel of Thomas, they're different. So I want to make sure that I stress that with you guys. And the fact that there are others. It's not just this one. What I would like to do is weave all of them together and make it like chronological order. There's the squirrel in Christ's life. But that would be too difficult to do because we have different, like right here, just of this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 different translations. We're not going to go over all of them. I will include a link for anyone who wants this. This is the Early Christian Writings website that we frequent because everything's in one place that way, and it's a good starting point. So let's read the intro because this is the infancy gospel. Remember, it's a little different. F.F. Bruce writes, this is information on the infancy gospel of Thomas. Okay. F.F. Bryce writes, Jesus and Christian origins outside the New Testament. Then there is the infancy gospel of Thomas, which purports to describe the doings of Jesus in his boyhood. Jesus proves to be an infant prodigy at school, instructing his teachers in the unsuspected mysteries of the alphabet. He astounds his family and playmates by the miracles, which he performs. This is the document which tells for the first time the familiar tale of the 12 sparrows, which Jesus, at the age of 5, fashioned from clay on Sabbath day. In the other Gospels, Ron Cameron suggests that the infancy Gospel of Thomas may have been written in eastern Syria, the location of the Thomas traditions, although Cameron states the attribution to Thomas, quote, seems to be a secondary late development, end quote. The original language of the document may have been either Syriac or Greek. The Greek manuscripts date from the 14th through the 16th century, while the earliest manuscripts is a 6th century one in Syriac, okay? So it does go back pretty far, although they were found, rediscovered, refounded in like 1945, and we've talked about that. We have to get back to that timeline too, because there's a lot that happened right then, and it's like right now, it's like repeating, and it's also when they flood the airwaves or whatever, the libraries, the magazines, the newspapers, when they flood it with just news story after news story, story after story after story, and you have both sides being represented, you know that they're trying to hide something that way with this oversaturation of media. Okay, it says the infancy gospel of Thomas relates to the miraculous deeds of Jesus before he turned 12. According to Cameron, quote, it carries forward the eritological tradition of the Gospels, expanding it to include an enumeration of miraculous feats performed even while Jesus was a mere infant. End quote. Cameron identifies the Sitz im Leben of the Gospel to be, quote, Christian missionary propaganda. Hold on. Cameron identifies the Sitz im Leben of the Gospel. I'm not sure what that is, but we'll find out. In exalting Jesus over and over against other, quote, divine men, end quote, and, quote, all other religious and political leaders within the Greco-Roman world, end quote. There is nothing particularly Christian about the stories attributed to Jesus. Rather, the stories elaborate on the missing years of Jesus with reference to Hellenistic legend and pious imagination. In the complete Gospels, Harold Attridge considers whether the infancy Gospels of Thomas contains Docetic or Gnostic teachings. Attridge states, quote, while Gnostics may have been able to interpret stories in infancy Thomas for their own ends, it is unlikely that they originally composed the work with the aim of propagating their theological positions, end quote. So what they're trying to say there is that again, tone has everything to do with how you read this, and so does your preconceived notions, and so does how it's translated. So they're being very, they're being extremely open about that, which I appreciate, because words, there's so many words that mean the same thing. Words can be used to deceive people if they don't understand what they mean. That earring's getting on my nerves. Okay, so we're gonna go, which one should we start with? English translation. I would like to start from an unpublished. That's an off-site link. Why didn't they? Hold, please. I'm going to pull up two different, if it's still live and working. Is it part of the dead internet? No results found. Oh. The Syriac Institute. I like to read them direct from their source because I don't want anyone else's opinions. And I know that sounds kind of like mean or whatever, but when I first take in information, I don't want anyone else's opinion on it. I want to read it and interpret it in my own, mind. I don't want anyone else to tell me what to think. That's like one of our biggest problems, I think, in our society right now. Okay, so we have the Latin, we have the Greek. Most people say that they spoke in link. Let's start with the first. This is the fourth one on the list, but it's the English translation from M.R. James. It's Greek text A. Not sure what text A means. Oh, this is James, Infancy Gospel of James. Is this just a list of... Oh, that sounds a lot better. Because I'm like, why is there so many translations of this one? The second Greek form, the writing of the Holy Apostle Thomas concerning the childhood of the Lord. See, this website, it's like... Wow. That's a whole different... That's the 12 patriarchs. Hold, please. I don't know why that is there either. Okay. There's the Latin. So that's right. English translation. First Greek form. All right. So we're going to start with the Infancy Gospel of Thomas with the first Greek form. That's where we're starting. It's not my first choice. I'm not going to lie. It is the first one on their list. I'm going to do my best not to take in my preconceived notions, but to me, Jesus is Lord. So I just want people to know that when I'm reading this, if it gets too hokey. And we read the other day, we read a part of this first story, and it's different. And that's what I don't like that either. And of course, I can't find where we read it from, but I'll find it. So this is the first Greek form. Thomas the Israelite, philosopher's account of the infancy of the Lord. It says, I, Thomas, an Israelite, write you this account, that all the brethren from among the heathen may know the miracles of our Lord Jesus Christ in his infancy, which he did after his birth in our country. The beginning of it is as follows. This child Jesus, when 5 years old, was playing in the ford of a mountain stream, and he collected the flowing waters. See, we heard this story in the Holy 12. But again, this is all of them together in one place, so we'll just read it, and then we'll see how we feel. He collected the flowing waters into pools and made them clear immediately, and by a word alone, he made the waters, obey him. And having made some soft clay, he fashioned out of it 12 sparrows. So this is how Christ is playing, mind you. He's sitting around in nature, left to his own devices. Playing should not be considered going against Sabbath, I wouldn't think. You're playing, you're a child, it's not work. But apparently you're not allowed to have miracles on Sabbath either. And this makes me angry because their own book, Genesis, way back, says Sabbath is a day of rest. It was created for us to have a day of rest. It was created for us. And here we're, again, being backwards, adulating a day and then telling other people if you don't worship on the right day, then you're not saved or whatever, when, hello, every day is different for everyone across the world with all the different time zones, and now we're on a different calendar. If we're all in different time zones, I honestly, no offense, I don't think the day itself matters. Look, I lost somebody watching. Is that not logical? Is that not common sense? I don't think the day matters that much. I don't know. And it is frustrating, and it is disturbing, and does make me feel some type of way to see other bigger channels that have sway over people like RFB. I thought for the longest time he was a good dude. I still watch his channel. I still root for him. But talking about how Sabbath, we don't really know what day it is, but then saying, well, Sabbath has to be practiced on a Saturday by the old calendar. Okay, first of all, you just said none of us actually knows what day it is. We've been lied to about the calendars. We've been lied to about our history. So both of those things can't be true at the same time. This is why I tell you, catch the double-mindedness in people. Careful what you agree with when you're watching channels. Anyways, so and it was Sabbath when he did these things. And there were also many other children playing with him, and a certain Jewish child, seeing that what Jesus was doing, playing on the Sabbath, went off immediately and said to his father Joseph, "Behold, thy son is at the stream, and has taken clay, and made of it 12 birds, and has profaned the Sabbath." And Joseph, coming to the place and seeing, cried out to him, saying, "Wherefore dost thou on the Sabbath what it is not lawful to do?" And Jesus clapped his hands and cried out to the sparrows and said to them, "Off you go." And the sparrows flew and went off crying. And the Jews, seeing this, were amazed, and went away and reported to their chief men, I guess the Pharisees, what they had seen Jesus doing. And the son of Annas, the scribe, was standing there with Joseph. And he took a willow branch and let out the waters which Jesus had collected. Now it says, when Jesus collected the waters, they were all clean when he did this. Once he did this, the waters were no longer polluted. What he did was a good thing to help his community, to help other people there who would wash with that water and drink with that water, and who would feed their animals that water. So Jesus did a good thing by cleaning the water, no matter what day it was on, right? And I already just told you how I felt about Sabbath day and arguing about that. I don't think we're supposed to argue about things of that nature. That's just my opinion. So he did a good thing. What he did was a good thing. Now, why couldn't they just let that be? And again, I'm reading this intentionally with a different voice because I have taken the time to listen to people that I disagree with and hear what they have to say about these gospels. And I don't like the tone that they're reading it with. And so I just want to bring some possible balance, maybe a possible different perspective, a different way of seeing these stories play out. So he let the sparrows go. He told them to go off. And then, that was even a bigger miracle. So this child went off and told the religious Jewish leaders. So he was the son of Annas. And he took a willow branch and he let out the waters which Jesus had already collected. So he was being a bully, basically. He was being a nasty kid. Again, other people, when they read this, they won't go over what the other child does. It's just what Jesus did. That child shouldn't have done that. Christ had just cleaned those waters, right? They were purified. So, here we go. So when the son of Annas, the scribe, was standing there with Joseph, and he took a willow branch and let out the waters which Jesus had collected. And Jesus, seeing what was done, was angry, and said to him, "O wicked and impious and foolish, what harm did the pools and the waters do to you? Behold, even now thou shalt be dried up like a tree," he's cursing him, "and thou shalt not bring forth either leaves or root or fruit." And straightway that boy was quite dried up. And Jesus departed and went to Joseph's house. So he cursed the child. But the parents of the boy that had been dried up took him up, bewailing his youth, and brought him to Joseph, and reproached him, because, said they, "Thou hast such a child doing such things." After that he was again passing through the village, and a boy ran up against him and struck his shoulder. And Jesus was angry and said to him, "Thou shalt not go back the way you came." And immediately he fell down dead. Let's pause for a second. Christ is dealing with bullies, right? Now, by the time he is an adult, he's telling us to turn the other cheek, right? Because he matures. You have to, and this is a very hard concept for most people to grasp. If you are somebody who considers Jesus Lord, okay? Christ, and again, I'm trying to read these with a different perspective than what's out there already. Christ is divine, but he's a child too, right? He has the Holy Spirit, but he's also his own person. And he looks like a child to us, but he's a little more than a child. At the same time, though, all spirits, all beings, except for maybe the creator maker, all beings, the whole point of us being here is to grow and be shaped and refined and learn. So in some way and shape and part, Christ has to grow into his divinity, and he has to learn diplomacy, because right now he is being a little, well, don't you know you can do these things? And again, Christ learns a better way as he ages, but right now he's looking at these people like, well, don't you know what I know? You should know what I know. You should know that this is right, or this, And again, I think he's wholly human and he's wholly divine, and that's usually the part where people have a hard time. Okay. Okay, so, and immediately this child fell down dead because he had come up to Christ and punched him in the shoulder, and Christ was angry, and he said to him, "Thou shalt not go back the way you came." And immediately the child fell down dead. And again, I can relate. I've had some instances when I was a child that were kind of similar. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And some who saw what had taken place said, "Whence was this child begotten, that every word of his is certainly accomplished?" His words have a punch to them, that as soon as he speaks them, they immediately manifest into what he is speaking. And this is why I tell you to be careful with your words, because Christ said we will do greater things than him. Words have power. How do you think the TV works? How do you think half of America is freaking hypnotized, and one half sees one thing on a video and the other half sees another thing? Y'all now you know what I've been dealing with the last 10 years. Having people right to my face say, "Well, no, it's not like that." "Well, yes, it is. We both sat here and saw it. It is like that." "Now, I don't know what you're talking about." "You just saw the same thing, or you just said it. I heard you." "No, I didn't." Everything you're seeing now with these videos of ICE, and again, I don't take sides. I think it's all ridiculousness and shameful. But anyways, I don't think we should be barbarians anymore. We should be past all that. And I think a lot of it is choreographed for television to have us fighting. That's what they want. Maybe half of the people are seeing a cell phone, and maybe the other half of the people, they've used AI and they've put a weapon in his hand. Like, we just don't know anymore, right? So balance is key, and that's why I'm trying to read this as well with balance. So Christ didn't like this. His words have a lot of power. They see it immediately, and this is what this other adult is saying. This is what this other adult is saying. He says, "The parents of the dead boy went away to Joseph and blamed him, saying, 'Since thou hast such a child, it is impossible for thee to live with us in the village, or else teach him to bless and not to curse, for he is killing our children.'" So right there, hold on. Let's read that chapter or paragraph again. "After that, he was again passing through the village, and a boy ran up against him and struck him in the shoulder. And Jesus was angry and said to him, 'Thou shalt not go back the way you came.' And immediately he fell down dead." Now, granted, Christ did not tell him to die. He just said, "You're not going to go back that way." And some who saw what had taken place said, "Since this child was begotten," or whence was this child begotten, that every word of his is certainly accomplished," meaning they come to fruition immediately. "And the parents of the dead boy went away to Joseph and blamed him, saying, 'Since thou hast such a child, it is impossible for thee to live with us in the village, or else tell him to bless and not to curse, for he is killing our children.' And Joseph called the child apart and admonished him, saying, Why dost thou do such things? And these people suffer and hate us and persecute us. And Jesus said, I know that these words of thine are not thine own. Nevertheless, for thy sake I will be silent, but they shall bear their punishment. And straightway those who accused him were struck blind. And those who saw it were much afraid and in great perplexity, and said about him, Every word which he spoke, whether good or bad, was an act and became a wonder. And when they saw that Jesus had done such a thing, Joseph rose and took hold of his ear and put it hard. And the child was very angry and said to him, It is enough for thee to seek and not to find, and most certainly thou hast not done wisely. Knowest thou not that I am thine? Do not trouble me. Hold on. And the child was very angry and said to him, okay, so let's talk about that. If you look at it, I'm sorry, my allergies are just mad right now, and I'm like on mute. I've been taking Mucinex, and not even, allergies from being stuck inside. And the cold I'm still trying to get over, so please excuse me. So what he's saying here, let's think about this for a second. Not only did he not apologize, but he struck the parents blind for accusing him. Why do you suppose he did that? Well, if it's true, now again, I'm reading this without my personal, right? I do believe my salvation is tied up in Christ, but not everybody believes that. I'm reading it from, if we believe that Christ is divine, he is doing this as judgment. He's telling them, don't do these things, right? Don't be violent, or this is what you'll get in turn. And much like we are told, you will receive how you judge others is how you will be judged. What you do to others will be done to you. So Christ, if you believe he is divine, he is doing things well within his dominion, because these children were being wicked little children, how children can be. But also, you have to understand that to Christ, he can bring anything back to life, number one. And number two, he knows the beginning and the end. He knows how those individuals would have turned out. We have no idea if those are good or bad. You know what I mean? He does. We don't. So just, again, to bring a little balance. So now he's saying, it's enough. He told his own dad. He said, it's enough that you seeked and you didn't find, right? You were looking for salvation. You didn't. He's trying to tell him that he doesn't know who he is. And that's what he told Joseph right there. Do you not know who I am? Have you still not received? But we understand, well, at least I've grown to understand that Joseph is he's a good man, right? But he's very basic. He is very basic in his understanding of things. Mary was the more spiritual of the two, as was Eve. Women give birth, and so bringing life into the world helps us to understand God in a more parental way that sometimes men can't. And men obviously understand in a more fatherly role of like inheritance, how to pass things down, how to approve and bless and not approve of certain things. And this is much like you would see a king act over his people. So let's keep these things in mind as we're reading as well. And a certain teacher, Zacchaeus by name, was standing in a certain place and heard Jesus thus speaking to his own father. And he said, and he wondered exceedingly that, being a child, he should speak in such a way. And a few days thereafter he came to Joseph and said to him, Thou hast a sensible child, and he has some mind. Give him to me, then, that he may learn letters, and I shall teach him along with the letters all knowledge, both how to address the elders and to honor them as forefathers and fathers, and how to love those of his own age. And he said to him all the letters from the Alpha even to the Omega, clearly and with great exactness. And he looked upon the teacher Zacchaeus and said to him, Thou who art ignorant of the name... Oh my gosh, this is This is Jesus telling the teacher off. Hold on. Maybe I should take more Mucinex, but I've already took like 2 pills this morning. It's ridiculous. I need to move, and I could give SSA back because I'd be so much healthier in a warmer climate. You think they'd want people healthy. All right, sorry. Not to mention chemtrail snow. Give me a break. So Christ is getting ready to tell off the teacher. This Rabbi Pharisee, I'm assuming that's who this person is. So he says, give him to me and I'll teach him. I'll teach him everything from the Alpha and Omega. And I'll even teach him how to have love for children that are his own age, because he is very smart and he does know more than others, which makes him appear prideful and precocious, right? He's that child who knows everything. And again, I was that child. I learned how to read at an early age, so I can relate to some of this. And I feel bad for, everybody judging and not taking a moment to understand what's actually happening or look at it from the other perspective. And this is what we need to do with our cities right now and our city planners. Like, people need to put themselves in each other's shoes. Nurses should be aides for a day. Doctors should be nurses for a day. And just, we should all eat a dose of humble pie. So he says to the teacher, he looked upon the teacher, Zacchaeus, and he said to him, thou who art ignorant of the nature of the Alpha, how can you teach others the Beta? Thou hypocrite, he calls the teacher a hypocrite. First, if thou knowest, teach the A, and then we shall believe thee about the B. Then he began to question the teacher about the first letter, and he was not able to answer him. And in the hearing of many, the child says to Zacchaeus, hear, O teacher, the order of the first letter, and notice here how it has lines and a middle stroke crossing those which thou seest common, lines brought together, the highest part supporting them, and again bringing them under one head, with 3 points of intersection of the same kind, principal and subordinate, of equal length. Thou hast the lines of the A. Ooh. So he told the teacher off, and when the teacher Zacchaeus heard the child speaking such and so great allegories of the first letter, he was at a great loss about such a narrative and about his teaching. And he said to those that were present, alas, I wretch that I am at a loss, bringing shame upon myself by having dragged this child hither. Take him away then, I beseech thee, brother Joseph. I cannot endure the sternness of his look. I cannot make out his meaning at all. That child does not belong to this earth. He can tame even fire. Assuredly, he was born before the creation of the world. What sort of belly bore him, what sort of a womb nourished him, I do not know. Alas, my friend, he has carried me away. I cannot get at his meaning. Thrice wretched that I am, I have deceived myself. I made a struggle to have a scholar, and I was found to have a teacher. My mind is filled with shame, my friends, because I, an old man, have been conquered by a child. There is nothing for me but despondency and death on account of this boy, for I am not able at this hour to look him in the face. And when everybody says that I have been beaten by a little child, what can I say, and how can I give an account of the lines of the first letter that he spoke about? I know not, O my friends, for I can make neither beginning nor end of him. Therefore I beseech thee, brother Joseph, take him home. What great thing he is, either God or angel, or what am I to say? I know not. So he's like, look, his mind is way beyond me, and you need to get him out of here before everybody hears him. And I don't understand what he's talking about. And I'm a wretch. He recognizes it. Like, I'm a wretched person for not understanding his meaning, right? And so he's basically like one of the Pharisees who pulls his hair out because he doesn't know how to take Christ. He's like, and nobody does, right? Back then, very few people understood. It was definitely his ministry was a seed, a mustard seed, to be planted, and it sprouted under the ground where nobody could even see it. And that's the thing, I heard somebody describe it, and it was so beautiful. I didn't know this. Mustard seeds are very tiny. I've worked with them. They're like, you can barely see them. But when they grow and they bloom, they start underneath the ground, and they creep, like creeping myrtle or something. Like they creep and they crawl, and the roots take over everything. That's what Christ meant about a mustard seed. He's like, oh, it doesn't look like much now, but I promise you, this is going to grow into something magnificent. You watch. It's going to grow, it's going to be sturdy. It's going to have good roots. It's going to be solid. This is going to grow. I promise you. They don't know how to take Christ. He's a child speaking way above their knowledge, means. They're like, how can this... He looks like a child, but he speaks like a God. What are we to make of him? They had no clue. And the sad thing everybody missed is he's the Messiah. Because nobody thought that God... Everybody's waiting for literal chariots and God and trumpets, like, for the first coming. Like, everybody thought that's what it would be. But if you think about God and the way he hides from us, and even the way he hides his woman from us, and or the Holy Spirit from us, how he covers his family. And we have to seek. It's God's job to conceal a thing. It's our job to seek it out, right? So of course God came as a child. Number one, too, because I'm certain at this point that there was somebody before Christ who said... And I think in a manner of way Job did, but I'm sure there was somebody that said, look, Dad, big guy, can I talk to you like this? Look, it's just really hard down here, and I know you don't get it. I know you don't understand God, but it's really hard being human and dealing with, we got to feed ourselves, we got to clothe ourselves, we got to worry about all these things. And then we started with ending other beings. And again, I think we have it twisted, because here we are inverted. I think we have it a little twisted. He came down here to show us, and walk through it with us. And nobody, God is the same because he's always there. He's the same, he's dependable. That means he's dependable. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow because he is dependable. But that doesn't mean he's not learning with us. If we are his first creation, like intelligent creation or consciously aware creation, or whatever his first consciously aware creation was, don't you that was new to him too? So don't you think he would have grown through that experience? People don't like you're not allowed to talk about God like that. I don't. Only the rabbis are allowed to discuss theological matters and debate. I don't know. I just something I wanted to pose to you. Okay. So, and when the Jews were encouraging Zacchaeus, the child laughed aloud and said, this is Jesus, now let thy learning bring forth fruit, and let the blind in heart see. I am here from above, that I may curse them and call them to the things that are above. And I'll explain that. Just don't go away yet. Let me read this whole part. As he that sent me on your account has commanded me. And when the child ceased speaking, immediately all were made whole who had fallen under his curse. And no one after that dared to make him angry, lest he should curse him and he should be maimed. Let me read that again one more time. It's just a sentence. A long two sentences. And when the Jews were encouraging Zacchaeus, the child laughed aloud, Jesus, and said, now let thy learning bring forth fruit, and let the blind in heart see. I come from above, that I may curse them, to call them to the things that are above, as he sent me on your account, and has commanded me. And when the child ceased speaking, immediately all were made whole, who had fallen under his curse. And no one after that dared to make him angry, lest he should curse them and be maimed. What does that mean? This is where it's really important that we approach this with a different voice than the Gnostic channels that are promoting this gospel, because another reason I'm reading this is because that book, the movie The Carpenter's Son with Nicolas Cage. And I didn't know who Nicolas Cage was, but I had to look into his family after seeing him play that role. Because I'm like, why is he getting all these roles? He's a Rockefeller. I didn't even know that. Nicolas Cage is a Rockefeller. I had no clue. He's like a cousin or something. He's like the son of a Rockefeller. I had no idea. No idea. And again, sorry for the Coke. I just got wicked heartburn. It's not good to promote drinking such things. Okay. So basically what's going on there is Christ is telling them, now, take what I just told you. Let that bring forth fruit. But much like I just said, Christ knew that he was planting a seed that wouldn't grow for many years, right? Like, he knew this. I am here from above that I may curse them in order to call them back to God, back to the right ways, to show them, hey, somebody is watching, somebody is paying attention, somebody who is above you. So if you keep walking around here being bullies and punching into people like that one child did, or undoing other people's good works like that first child did, then you may be cursed by God above. But he sent me so that I could bring you, yeah, I cursed you to show you somebody's paying attention. But he also just here, he lifted that curse from everyone, who had caused him offense or whatever in this period. And he says to them, now, the reason this happened was so you could see I'm going to heal you too. And once again, they would be grateful for their lives. They would maybe turn back to God and not be so unloving to other people, right? Because obviously, if they're doing this to Jesus, he's not the first one that they've hurt or harmed or undone their work, right? They're probably the same kids that go along, and laugh about years later, like in Mark Twain, they laugh about taking the clotheslines down and undoing all the women's work, right? It might seem funny at the time, but it's naughty, and this is what Christ is telling them. Yeah, I cursed you, but now I'm going to bless you. But remember this, the next time you think about being nasty to someone, that what you give is what you'll receive in that way, right? In this world, anyway. We don't get what we deserve, or we'd pay a lot more. Okay, so and some days after this, Jesus was playing in an upper room of a certain house. I don't know if this is the attic or what. And they always say upper room. And one of the children that was playing, and this is why I wonder if, and just follow me for a second. This is why I wonder if that's how they added time on. If they wrote like it was some other time and age, but it really wasn't that long ago. Because why is there so many people in upper rooms? It really sounds like the Holocaust when they went door to door. And now they're talking about going door to door again. And I keep going back, guys. I know if you're new here, you're not going to understand what I'm talking about right now. But I keep going back to Philip K. Dick. Talking about this being like the illusion is time. Like we're stuck. We're still in the Roman times. And we just don't know it. And I know that sounds weird, but you'd have to watch those videos to understand what I mean in whole. All right, anyways, that's what they do. They're chilling out in the upper room of a certain house, and one of the children that was playing with him fell down from the house and was killed. Oh my gosh, he fell. So it was an attic. It was like a high room. Do they not have walls? How did he fall? And when the other children saw this, they ran away, and Jesus alone stood still. And the parents of the dead child coming reproached, and they threatened him. And Jesus leaped down from the roof and stood beside the boy of the child and cried with a loud voice and said, Zeno, for that was his name. Oh, okay. This is what Jesus said. He says, Zeno, for that was his name, stand up and tell me, did I throw thee down? Wow. So he's being falsely accused by the parents of this child because they're accusing him of throwing him down off the house to kill him. So Christ says, all right, I'll show you I didn't do it. I'll ask him. So he says, Zeno, stand up, just like he did with Lazarus, and tell me, did I throw you down? And he stood up immediately and said, certainly not, my Lord. Thou did not throw me down, but hast raised me up. And those that saw this were struck with astonishment, and the child's parents glorified God on account of the miracle that had happened and adored Jesus. What's funny is I think the person that put this site together started as a Gnostic, and what's also really funny is the Gnostic channels that are talking about this gospel or that have read this gospel, I don't ever hear the good parts about Christ. I am seriously going to go back and pay attention now, because if they're not reading it right, I'm going to be their worst nightmare in their comment sections about this topic, because that is really nefarious, like to make it look like Jesus is wicked, like the way you want to make it look, so you skip the good parts. Oh, I was wondering, what are your thoughts on my comments? I did comment on that and related my thoughts. I would agree with you on the water, but it's more than that, because I've dreamt of water so often. But yeah, I did comment on those there. Okay, so he raised this kid up. And he said, he's not the one that threw me down, and the parents saw him. So that was like a foreshadowing of Lazarus. So this is bit 10. We're down at 10 on the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. A few days after, a young man was splitting wood in the corner, and the axe came down and cut the sole of his foot in two. Oh! And he died from loss of blood. And there was a great commotion, and people ran together, and the child Jesus ran there too. And he pressed through the crowd and laid hold of the young man's wounded foot, and he was cured immediately. And he said to the young man, "Rise up now, split the wood, and remember me." And the crowd, seeing what had happened, adored the child, saying, "Truly the Spirit of God dwells in this child." Hold, please. I have to be fair, because I said I would try to be fair and balanced, and mention something right there. There is a group thought out there. Hold on, so I don't forget. There's a group out there, a group think. I don't remember. I want to say it was Origin. Origin might have been the one that said it, and we touched on it briefly several videos ago. But I don't want to misquote. I think it's Origin. Don't quote me on that, though. Anyways, allegedly, something that goes along with this is the elders discussing, is it okay to go around and willfully cure or heal whoever you want? Because didn't God allow that to happen to that person for a reason? And now if you bring everybody from the back from the dead, there'll be too many people. And the main thing, though, was that if you're doing this constantly, they're going to start to take their lives for granted. Now, if you watch the very first video on this channel, it's one I did on the original channel, and I segued over to this channel at that time, and it's called The Death Simulation, and it gives my thoughts on what this whole thing is here, what we're doing here. No worries. I appreciate you listening. Yeah, I did comment on those, though, and I would agree that in part that's one of the aspects of the water, but not in whole. And if we are in some type of dream state, if this is some type of simulation, it is the most boring thing we could have picked. Because, yeah, there's a lot going on the screens, but, like, our everyday lives are pretty dull, like, I think. I mean, like, I love to be a mom, but at this point, I would like to be, like, traveling the world, and I don't like being restricted. I don't think anyone should own land. And but I don't mean your home. Like, you build a home, you put it on the land, yeah, that should be yours. But I mean, it should be equally divided, and I don't think the rich should be telling us, oh, no, you can't go here, you can't do this, or you got to pay to go here. Why? It's a natural development or whatever, let me see it. Redskin grapes and envy or Fuji apples might help with your heartburn. I never heard of apples working on heartburn. Mugwort does it for me too. I love this stuff. But it's at the end of the month, so I'm poor. So I'm just kind of bumming drinks off the family. Thank you so much, though. I love holistic tips like that. Okay, let's continue. So they're saying God must dwell in this child. So when he was 6 years old, his mother gave him a pitcher and sent him to draw water and bring it into the house. But he struck against someone in the crowd, and the pitcher was broken. And Jesus unfolded the cloak which he had on. I got to change that. It keeps turning off. And filled it with water and carried it to his mother. And his mother, seeing the miracle that had happened, kissed him and kept within herself the mysteries which she had seen him doing. He carried water in a folded cloak. Huh. Okay. And again, in seed time, I guess that's planting time, the child went out with his father to sow corn in their land. Do they have corn in the Middle East? I'm pretty sure that's an American thing, South American thing. Maybe Brazil. Do they have corn in the Middle East back then? Was that a thing? America is Israel. That's why they do the things they do. New Jersey, I think, is where they have all their little videos made. Funny how Jersey was having all those problems and all those orbs right at the same time we had all those videos of the drone footage that was allegedly happening in the war over there. Okay, so he carried water home in a cloak. And again in seed time, he went out with his father to sow corn. And while his father was sowing, the child Jesus also sowed 1 grain of corn. And when he had reaped it and threshed it, he had 100 cores. And calling all the poor of the village to the threshing floor, he gave them the corn. And Joseph took away what was left of the corn. And he was 8 years old when he did this miracle. And his father was a carpenter, and at that time made plows and yokes. See, that's the thing a lot of people don't know, is these movies that they're putting out now, The Chosen had a lot of the Gnostic bits in it. But those guys are like devoted Buddhists at this point. If you don't watch their Instagram, they always got like the rainbow flag, and they always got the little Buddha. And in every horror movie I've watched recently, there's always a little Buddha statue in the background. Very strange. Or it might be Krishna. It might be Krishna because it's just the head. I might be wrong about that, but I'm not up to speed on those religions. They got a lot of little G gods, and I don't care for that. But yeah. Hold on. Did we miss a part? Okay. Okay. The corn. That corn throws me, though. I'm sure they have it there now, but did they then? So, what is it called? What is the movie called, you guys? The son of the carpenter's son. That one's going to have some Gnostic play in it. And so does The Chosen. I do not like how The Chosen showcases Mary at all, whatsoever, at any time. I don't like how they showcase any of the women with their head coverings. They make them look like pirates. And I'm just being honest. Like, they would not have dressed like that. They would not have had those bright colors, probably. They would have had more muted colors. Only royalty had those colors. Most of them, if they weren't already poor, they were willingly giving most of their goods to the poor, so they probably wouldn't spend, money on dye for themselves in that way, maybe as a gift or something. But I'm just, now I'm just picking hairs, but I'm just being honest. The Carpenter's Son with Nick Cage, who I now found out is a Rockefeller, is going to include a lot of this Gnostic information. So I wanted to read it with a different perspective. Okay, so it said, Anna's father was a carpenter, and at that time made plows and yokes, and a certain rich man ordered him to make a couch, and one of what is called the cross pieces being too short that they did not know what to do. The child Jesus said to his father Joseph, put down the 2 pieces of wood and make them even in the middle. And Joseph did as the child said to him. And Jesus stood at the other end and took hold of the shorter piece of wood and stretched it and made it equal to the other. And his father Joseph saw it and wondered and embraced the child and blessed him, saying, Blessed am I, because God has given me this child. So again, I've heard a few channels read these books and they are skipping some of it. And Joseph, seeing that the child was vigorous in mind and body, again resolved that he should not remain ignorant of the letters, and took him away and handed him over to another teacher. And the teacher said to Joseph, I shall teach him the Greek letters and then the Hebrew. For the teacher was aware of the trial that had been made of the child and was afraid of him. Nevertheless, he read out the alphabet and gave him all his attention for a long time, and he made him no answer. And Jesus said to him, If thou art really a teacher and are well acquainted with the letters, tell me the power of the alpha, and I will tell thee the power of the beta. And the teacher was enraged at this and struck him on the head. Oh my gosh. And I'd be so angry if someone, oh my gosh, I would throw down, and I'm not a fighting person, but don't do that to my child. No way. Oh, that's funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it's so, and the child, being in pain, cursed him. And immediately he swooned away and fell to the ground on his face. And the child returned to Joseph's house, and Joseph was grieved, and gave orders to his mother, saying, Do not let him go outside of the door, because those that make him angry die. And everyone says, how does he have a right to do this? How can he be a good child if he's doing this? He's divine. He is divine. And he is he is following scripture, even though most people don't want to admit that. But here we go, because scripture tells us flat out, and so does Derek Prince, you're either blessed or you're cursed. You can't be both at the same time. And after some time, another master, again, a genuine friend of Joseph, said to him, Bring the child to my school. Perhaps I shall be able to flatter him into learning his letters. And Joseph said, If thou hast the courage, brother, take him with thee. And he took him with him in fear and great agony. But the child went along pleasantly. And going boldly into the school, he found a book lying on the reading desk, and taking it, he read not the letters that were in it, but opening his mouth, he spoke by the Holy Spirit, and taught the law to those that were standing round. And a great crowd, having come together, stood by and heard him, and wondered at the ripeness of his teachings, and the readiness of his words, and that he, child as he was, spoke in such a way. And Joseph, hearing of it, was afraid, and ran to the school in doubt lest his master too should be without experience. And the master said to Joseph, Know, brother, that I have taken the child as a scholar, and he is full of much grace and wisdom. But I beseech thee, brother, take him home. And when the child heard this, he laughed at him directly. I'm laughing, I could just picture it. I mean, he can undo anything that he does. He blessed everyone that he had cursed and says, now, turn back to God. So anyway, and when the child heard this, he laughed at him directly and said, Since thou hast spoken aright and witnessed aright, for thy sake, he also that was struck down shall be cured. And immediately the other master was cured. And Joseph took the child and went away home. So he said that since he handled him so kindly and carefully and respectfully, like he wasn't falsely accusing all these other adults, even though this adult was still afraid of him, he wasn't falsely accusing him, and he didn't strike him, right? The other teacher struck him on the head. But again, once things are evened out, he fixes it. So I think there's definitely a new perspective needed. And whoever's reading these on their channel, they're not reading the whole thing. They need to go over the whole thing, because that's very sneaky. So, and after this, so he went away home, and Joseph sent his son James to tie up wood and bring it home. And the child Jesus also followed him. And when James was gathering, I'm not saying that word because I don't know what they're using it for there. And when James was gathering I don't know what, a viper bit him. So James is gathering something in the yard. Anyway, he gets bit by a snake. And when he was racked with pain and at the point of death, Jesus came near and blew upon the bite. And the pain ceased directly. And the beast burst, and instantly James remained safe and sound. Hold there. Do you remember when you were a little kid, if you'd be learning how to ride your bike for the first time or learning how to roller skate, doing something that required balance, and like we were back in the day, we were all in the streets doing it, and you'd get a bloody knee, and you'd go run into your mom, kiss it, make it better, Mom, blow on it. Did your mom ever do that? My mom always blowed on my boo-boos. And thanks, Mom. My mom always blowed on my boo-boos, and they always felt better. Christ said that we should all be able to do what he did. Christ said that in our time, we would be able to do more than he did. Our words have power. Our actions have power. But I think they all have to be in alignment, and I think we have to believe them. We could be our own cures. Now, part of this is medical advice. And we'll go over a list of healing words in a different video. But they seem to be most powerful in Hebrew and in Syriac. I'm just being honest. Okay, so let's finish this up. It's almost done. Okay, and Joseph sent his son James to... Okay, so he saved James's life. And after this, the infant of one of Joseph's neighbors fell sick and died, and its mother wept sore. And Jesus heard that there was great lamentation and commotion, and ran in haste, and found the child dead, and touched his breast, and said, I say to thee, child, be not dead, but live, and be with thy mother. That's so sweet. And directly it looked up and laughed. And he said to the woman, take it and give it milk, and remember me. And seeing this, the crowd was standing by and wondered, and said, truly this child was either God or an angel of God, for every word of his is a certain fact. And Jesus went out thence, playing with the other children. And some time after there occurred a great commotion while a house was building. And Jesus stood up and went away to the place. And seeing a man lying dead, he took him by the hand and said, Man, I say to thee, arise and go on with thy work. And directly he rose up and adored him. And seeing this, the crowd wondered and said, This child is from heaven, for he has saved many souls from death, and he continues to save during all his life. And when he was 12 years old, his parents went as usual to Jerusalem to the feast of to the feast of the Passover with their fellow travelers. And after the Passover, they were coming home again. And while they were coming home, the child Jesus went back to Jerusalem, and his parents thought that he was in the company. And having gone one day's journey, they sought him among their relations, and not finding him, they were in a great grief and turned back to the city seeking for him. This reminds me of like gypsies, right? Like how they were always on their journeys and pilgrimages. Americans don't do pilgrimages. We're not called to do that. They do our census and they come to us. It's all very different. Anyways, and they were all attending to him and wondering that he, being a child, was shutting the mouths of the elders and teachers of the people, explaining the main points of the law and the parables of the prophets. And his mother Mary, coming up, said to him, Why hast thou done this to us, child? Behold, we have been seeking for thee in great trouble. And Jesus said to them, Why do you seek me? Do you not know that I must be about my Father's business? And the scribes and the Pharisees said, Art thou the mother of this child? And she said, I am. And they said to her, Blessed art thou among women, which is where the Hail Mary comes from. And hail just means hi. It means hello. When people say Hail Mary, it's a greeting. It doesn't mean what worship. Even when people say that about Hitler, and I'm not promoting, I'm just saying, when you say hail, it means hello. It's just another way to say hello. Anyways, moving on. They've tricked so many people with language anymore and made good bad and bad good, and it's so hard because most people don't even care anymore. Look at my channel. I've been here years at this, doing this. This is my second channel. You'd think I'd be successful now, at least a little bit. I must be the worst YouTuber ever, which is okay with me. I don't mind. And I send you guys to the people who will teach you how to prep, and I share those videos. I'm here to prep your minds and your souls. That's in spirits. That's what I'm good for. The mechanical stuff I'm not great at, but I could teach you how to fish. You have a blessed day as well. Okay, so let's read the last sentence. So he says, "Why do you seek me? Do you not know that I must be about my Father's business?" And the scribes and the Pharisees said, "Art thou the mother of this child?" And she said, "I am." And they said to her, "Blessed art thou among all women, for God has blessed the fruit of your womb. For such glory and such virtue and wisdom we have neither seen nor ever heard." And Jesus rose up and followed his mother, and was subject to his parents. And his mother observed all the things that had happened. And Jesus advanced in wisdom and stature and grace, to whom be glory forever and ever. Amen. So this has been the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, the first Greek form, because like I said, there are several renditions. When this video is posted, I will post the web link below. It's a fantastic resource. It is called Early Christian Writings. It has several categories: New Testament, Apocrypha, Gnostics, Church Fathers, and then other. And it's all very old works that have been translated a few times for those who don't understand the older words and want something more modern. But there's always a list before each one, which is really cool and really helpful too. I hope that you guys learned something. Do you agree with me that sometimes maybe on the YouTube platform that the perspective that people are speaking from is, with any topic, it is a little it goes based by their bias, right? Their preconceived notions. So maybe if we purposely and intentionally try to see things or hear things from a different perspective, it will open up a fuller picture for us, and we'll have the whole truth and not just bits, because bits can be deceiving if you put them together wrong. You guys have a blessed day. This video is done. It was super fun. We will visit this site much more like we do. If you missed the beginning, I would appreciate it if you listened and you could fast forward if you need to. Listen to my dream. Give me some interpretation of what you think it meant. If you've had any weird dreams about liminal spaces, share them with me. I am fascinated by liminal spaces. And check out the shorts. I try to showcase God's kingdom in that way. And by God's kingdom, I mean nature, living, sentient, created beings, for everybody to enjoy and hopefully make you smile. All right, guys, you get out there, use your talent and skills today to serve somebody, make somebody smile. I promise you, it makes you feel really good inside. We gotta bust through that granite and get back to our hearts again. And I know that's really hard after the last decade we've had, but I believe we can do it. Have a blessed day, and we'll talk again soon, guys. Bye.